of us can use, enjoy, and have fun with. So Jane, thank you so much for doing this for us.
My pleasure. Okay, so it's really pretty simple. Sprigs are really any attachment. I actually wrote down from the Potter's Dictionary. A sprig is adding more clay on the main pot form. Taken literally, handles are sprigs, but common usage gives name to decorative features more than functional parts. You can make it and put it on, like this one, which were just made with those little doll eye forms. They look like a weight thing. They have two balls on the end of the stick.
Yeah, the little
Yeah,
wooden
so
sticks.
that was made over that. So that's a sprig technically.
Are
But
those
really
hollow?
Those little balls, are they hollow?
they're hollow, and there's a little hole in a hidden spot underneath each one. But mostly you think of them as things made from molds. So these are a bunch of molds I made, and as you can tell by their cleanliness, most of them haven't been used yet. I have more fun making the molds than I do have making the regular stuff. So this is probably the first one I did, which was actually probably one of the hardest ones because I made it from one of those Indian wooden block print things, and because it was rather large, the pieces kept falling apart. So I just kind of put them on. I kept the pieces that stayed intact and put them on in what I thought was a somewhat pleasing way. So that's a really old one. This is what I really like to do, and I haven't done in a while. It's just like encrust them so they look like they came from the ocean, And this one was salt fired. So sure. This one I really like because these buttons came from an old coat of my mother's. And I took it and made a mold from that. And this one I like them because it gives the glaze a place to break if you have an ordinary pot, with not a lot on it. So this one actually the stuff ran down very nicely from all the little pieces. So to make the molds is really pretty simple. I just roll out a slab, and this is probably an ideal thickness for it because if you get any thinner than that, you'll have warping. And as it is, these are probably, some of them are really warped. And they're not very heavy, really, once they're fired. So you just roll out a slab, and you have to find the stuff, too. That's the thing. So I have this little box of goodies here that I've been collecting. I go to yard sales and flea markets, and like there's a guy down in Lambertville who just has all clock parts. So he has
Do you
interesting...
live close to Lambertville? Do you live close?
No, not anymore, but I used to go down there a lot. And then every once in a while at flea markets I find these guys that have these African things, which are really kind of cool too. So once you roll out your slab, you just take your object, and I'm maybe going to make one because it's almost like too simple to even show you. Just take your object and press it in. It's got to be kind of deep enough that it's going to hold some clay, and can't be too fragile. But you just press it in right up to the edge of the clay, and then pull it out. And if you have problems with it sticking, you can dust it with a little cornstarch. Thank you. So you can do that if you want. So you can have a look at some of those if you like.
The toys.
But the things to make are I use buttons a lot. Shank buttons are the best because you don't have to deal with the holes. But if you find a button that you really like, you can fix the hole on the sprig itself. So I don't mind the holes myself. I think they're like part of the decoration.
What kind of clay do you use?
Well, I use whatever I have. Some of this is porcelain, some of it's B-mix, some of it's 153. No, not necessarily. I don't find any of them work better than the others. And they do have to have a little bit of depth to them if you want to pick them up and pass them around and look at them. But they don't have to be really, really deep. Actually, I think this is the one that I used for this. So, there are different pieces around. So, once you do it, you just bisque fire them, and then you can use them. So, I actually have little, I threw a couple of little cylinders, and there's some clay lying around, so you can all try this. But what you're going to do, let's see, which one do I want to use? I haven't ever used this guy, so I hope he works out okay. So you want to take some clay, squish it in there. You want to make sure it's squished in really well, otherwise you could end up with little bubbles and things. And then you can use a fettling knife, you can use a credit card. And I start from the middle and
Yeah.
push outward.
If not, you lift it.
Yeah, I actually lost some of his foot there. And you'll find when you do it, some things work better than others. You know, you have to make it and try it to see if it's gonna work.
What temperature do your biscuit low, right?
Yeah,
Because
just
if-
04. I stick it in with my regular bisque stuff.
Yeah. Because if it's too hot, then it won't
Yeah.
release.
Right. But boy, these release really well, so that's why you start from the middle and go out, otherwise you could lose the whole thing. Also, since you're gonna slip and score these, it's really
Ooh, where'd
a
you get
lot
that?
better.
Oh,
This-
I like that. Yeah,
It's a
that's,
Zion.
it's who?
A Zion. It's good for traveling.
Where did you get it? What is it?
I
I
don't
don't
know
know
what
what
that
the
is.
Zion mean.
Online.
X-I-E-N.
I think
Probably
you got it in like a
Shen.
ceramic shop.
That
or,
was great.
Yeah, I think I might have gotten it in Antica, actually.
X-I-A-N.
Give it back. You wanna score it while it's in the mold. Because to try to score this once it's out of the mold would be really tough. Okay, and then,
Retracts in there.
of
That's
course,
what
it's
I
not
want
gonna
to see.
come out. There it is.
Sometimes you need a pin
I have to sometimes pry
And
them.
then my regular cat.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
sometimes I
Jane,
have to pry them out.
Yeah, how'd you get
I
it
just
out?
banged it. Usually they release pretty easily.
Or you could have
Especially-
waited longer.
If you wait a little longer, it'll suck up more of the liquid in it. And then, you know, you can use slip, but just for the ease of today, I just brought vinegar.
Do you ever make the molds in plastic?
I haven't, but you can. At one Antica, I watched George Rodriguez. Anybody know him? He's Deborah Schwarzkopf's boyfriend or whatever. Oh, see, I just broken. And then you just set them on there. Now, the thing is, you need to have, the clay needs to be somewhat leather hard, or you won't be able to put any pressure on it without deforming the piece. The piece and the sprig. The sprig is softer. So it really doesn't take much. You just really need to tap it down a little bit. It's kind of messy. And then, and especially if you're using slip, you want to go around the edges and clean it up with your brush.
Jane, could you rotate over here a little bit?
Sure.
Now you have to, you have to use a very low cone on these molds.
No, 04. I just put it in with my regular bisque.
Your bisque.
Yeah, the lower the temperature they're fired, the more moisture they'll absorb.
Right.
So I do all my bisque firing, because I do raku, I do it 06. So all the sprigs I make, yeah, they just pony along with all my other stuff, they get fired at 06. Lower temperature, 06, they're gonna be a little chippier. 04, they're a little sturdier, so they might withstand a trip to the floor.
This is a good one.
So there he is. So he was a little cat butt in this one.
It's adorable.
Could you show how it comes out? I didn't see how easily it comes out.
Do it
This
differently.
is like a scarab.
But the more times you use it,
Yeah, that's what it
the
was.
less easier it's
I
gonna
know, I've
come
never
out.
used that one.
You
Let's
just have to
try
let it dry out and it'll go right back.
And right off. Let's see. In fact, it's so dry that it's not gonna work. I'll do something I can know is gonna work. Oh, thanks, I got it. Sometimes it's so dry that it's really hard to scrape the stuff off it without it coming up. So I usually try to hold one side down while I do the other side. Okay, so there we have it.
Yep. Wow.
That's all.
Very cool.
That's all.
Okay.
But Jane, if you're doing a whole slew of them because you're doing it all around, as more you do, the more it'll take you to get it out of the mold.
Yes, that's why I tend to, if it's something
So
I
you-
like,
right.
I try to make a bunch of them, so you can do it. So,
Jane, if you have all of these filled and you just slap it once, they're all gonna fall out.
they should. Yeah. So, but I mean, a lot of them I just do one up till I see if I like it, if it's gonna work well, you know. And I've done some very large ones like this, which I've never used. But you can do, this is from a piece of it wasn't even a piece of rope, it was a piece of wood, you know,
Molding
trim,
trim.
yeah, molding trim.
I've done a necklace.
Yeah, you could do any, a lot of these
Pearl
things are
necklace.
bits of jewelry, you know, that I,
Or a rim on a
Jane.
tray or something.
yeah.
I find that when I do a large sprig, if I roll, after I've got the sprig spread out and I've done the cleaning of the back, I roll a thin piece of clay, put some scores on it, put some slip on it, and I just touch the back.
Right.
And it'll help
Oh,
yeah,
lift
to
it
pull it
out,
out, yes.
especially if it's a large piece.
Right.
You might even want to do it in two spots, so you can lift it out, and then you just carefully take a needle and cut off.
Yeah, when I saw George Rodriguez do it, he does some things where he really encrusts stuff, I get. And so, and he makes all his things that he makes his molds from first, and then makes the molds from those. And he does his with plaster, he used plaster molds. And I remember him saying, clay sticks to clay, so even if you have a small thing, you can probably just go like that and it'll stick. But
As long as it's loosened.
I feel like I have more control of where I'm putting it if I put it in my hand first.
Yeah.
So, they're all here. There's brushes and scoring things and needle tools and whatever. So if you want to give it a try, there's bits of clay all around the table.
Do you find if you're making a large sprig and putting it around something curved, that the sprig will get cracks in it? And how do you deal with
Well,
it?
I
You just
don't-
have to just
I-
repair it, or you
I
just do
don't
little
really,
things?
I really tend to do more little things.
I know how to do that.
So, but I have even had little things.
Wetter clay,
Yeah, really.
really damp clay.
Or maybe spray it after you put it on.
Yeah, and then you can touch it up with a
Spray
brush.
Spray it with water.
Oh, and an owl.
Or even if you just take a brush to it without even spraying it, you might be enough to do that. So give it a try. Pick a mold you like and grab some clay. Oh, one of the other things I wanted to show you was, I haven't used this one yet either. I meant to do it before I came today, but you can do legs as a sprig. So you can do legs. You
Oh,
can
the
throw a
legs,
little
yeah.
little leg sprig and then just stick it on the bottom. So if somebody wants to try that, that would be great. So, and you can go ahead and put it on the cylinders if you like.
Genius.
The other thing, they're all gonna be the same.
Yes.
Unlike the ones I.
This is
Yeah, no, I use it, to make sure that, the bottom,